Lee, the thumbnail today, it's got you depicted literally going down the rabbit hole here of UkraineGate and the city of London. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you, Jason?
I am well. I think a lot of people might be confused, though, because when we say the city of London, they think maybe we're talking about, what everybody thinks, but it's something different, isn't it?
The city of London is not London. City of London is a square mile area within London that has its own leader, has its
Mm-hmm.
own like mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Is It's a separate city inside London, and it's basically, I guess, the equivalent of like Wall Street, kind of, but a more 1984 version of Wall Street.
Isn't
Even
Washington, D.C. maybe a little bit more accurate analogy because it's kind of its own thing, right? This city of London?
Okay, so put those two together. Put DC and Wall Street together because it's hugely the financial thing is a huge thing. And in fact, this brings up something I wanted to say, Jason.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking about this. I was thinking of how to explain the deep state to someone because I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people think they know what the deep state is, but I want to expand their thinking. Okay, so I want to make an analogy. Ready? The
Mm-hmm.
kind of I'm known for. The deep state is like a soul singer. Let me explain.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Okay, here's what I mean. So if I say deep state, a lot of people picture in their heads like uh, the CIA or the FBI or Comey or Strzok or whoever. Makes sense? They picture a
Yeah.
very definite, specific thing.
Spy
Now,
versus spy cartoon.
but the way to understand the deep state is it's not one thing. It's like a vast amorphous kind of cloud of things. And like the concept of soul singer. So if I said to you a soul singer, and I said nothing else, you might think of some people like James Brown or Michael Bolton or whoever you think about, right? But those
Not
are
Michael Bolton.
no. But see, you gotta let's go with that though. I use that on purpose because no one would disagree with James Brown, but some people would say, well, Bolton. Yeah, I
I
don't
mean, I
know.
guess he's trying. Whether you like him or not is a separate
And
issue.
such as in the deep state, sometimes we look at groups and we go, this group, are they private? Are they public? Are they working for the government? They're, what, it's like
Yeah. Well, Brookings.
a great example. And the deep state, like the concept of not specific soul singers, but soul singer in general, is covers a wide variety of entities and people and types of music actually. And the deep state, think of it not as a like fixed like the CIA, but is HSBC part of the deep state?
Yeah, I think it is.
I think it is too because you so much if we're parsing everything to the exact, crossing our
Right.
T's and dotting our I's, then you're not going to vibe with this. But what I'm saying is, think of it broadly, because it's true that like the charities, sports charities, are they part of it? Absolutely.
Sport.
You can point to examples of where sports charities are used to promote a political cause, right? I mean, and all around the world, people don't think of it that way, but it's one way. I reported in New York that uh,
The
Major League
soccer
Soccer,
team, I remember you were telling me about that.
right? They were behind an anti-Trump march. Now that sounds nuts,
No,
right?
but you had a lot of evidence. I remember. And not only that, Lee, even just the NFL and all that stuff, they're tax
Right.
exempt, business leagues and stuff, and all these billionaire dudes own them. This is all tax schemes for them to do whatever.
That's right. And the the reason this is important is you've seen Mike Benz, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
He was on Tucker talking about the he's big on disinfo. I've spoken to him a little bit,
Yeah.
DM.
And I've never spoken to him, but I saw him on Tucker, and he's in a category that I would call right, but he's saying a lot of stuff that's right, and he's correct. For instance, it's a big step that people like him are pointing out the 2014 Eurobidon coup, right? Now, I've been talking about that since, 2017? I mean, I've been talking about it forever, but it's good that he starts saying that. People weren't saying that before.
Right.
People are getting smarter, but I was started at least at 2012 with the Magnitsky Act. And me, I like to go back to Cecil Rhodes. So I like to go back to the 19th century and really show how all this stuff connects. City of London, Oxford,
Right.
the Rothschilds, which, by the way, the Rothschilds, it's not ancient history because the Rothschilds were there at the beginning. And Jacob Rothschild, who just passed away, is on the board of Gene Energy. And I've talked about that. And also, by the way, he was named the executor of Khodorkovsky's shares in Yukos Oil. Remember Khodorkovsky went to prison?
Well, what happens now that Rothschild's dead?
Well, they were like temporary controlling shares, something like that. It's some, financial skullduggery, shall we say. But it was interesting that, like, he was that guy. Khodorkovsky is directly connected to the Rothschilds and ours. So,
Arrested. Oops, it wants me to pay.
so I don't just bring up, the Rothschilds in ancient history. This stuff with a deep history, but not only deep history, is relevant today to understanding what's going on.
Yeah, this whole thing with Khodorkovsky was 2003. So, I mean, it's funny. You see 2003, it's one of those dates, Lee. This is old man stuff to complain about, but it's kind of a long time ago. Yet, I still remember there's like, in the year 2000, people will live under the ocean. No.
Yeah. Bread will be $5 a loaf. So,
right.
but those days actually are kind of important because it goes back to Khodorkovsky after Russia fell, after the end of the Soviet Union, the end of the USSR, Khodorkovsky became the richest man in Russia by being he's a smart guy, a smart and daringly corrupt oligarch. When I say daringly corrupt, he wanted to buy Yukos Oil, okay? So what he did was he bought the bank that was going to auction Yukos Oil. To see where it's going with that? So
yeah,
now
well, is that Hermitage Capital or something else?
no, that's Menatep,
Menatep.
MENATEP. He bought Bank Menatep. So he bought the bank that was doing the auction. So he rigged the auction.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible corruption. Yeah, look, it even shows him when you bring up Bank Menatep.
Right. He like you say, you've got to admire his balls. I'll say that. He really is bold. I'll say that. So that's the kind of guy Khodorkovsky was. Now, he was also basically working for and with the Rothschilds to try to buy Russia's energy assets, like Yukos Oil. Okay? So he bought Yukos Oil in that auction for pennies on the dollar. Okay? He bought it at a bargain rate because he controlled the auction. And then he was trying to sell Yukos Oil to BP, British Petroleum, and like Exxon. Okay? And it was talked about in the New York Times. It wasn't hiding this. That's what he was trying to do. So when Putin came into power, one thing he said was, okay, we got to stop that kind of stuff. Selling Russia's resources to
England and stuff. Yeah.
Anybody.
Right.
But by people who are your kind of sworn enemies on their part, it's nuts. So Putin stopped that. And That's why they hate him, by the way. They hate him absolutely because he stopped the theft.
Isn't that amazing, Lee? It's all documented. This is Reuters talking about this in 2007. TNK and BP to bid on Yuko sale as BP bosses meet with Putin. And obviously it didn't happen. So, I mean, it's, you know, they say, oh, he's killing everybody. But if you just look at the facts, he is the president of Russia. And I mean, he wants Russia to be financially prosperous and a safe place for Russian people to like live and have their businesses and families. Seems like a reasonable set of goals for the guy who's in charge of Russia, no?
I think so. And also, you know, the people think so. That's why it's so popular. But, you know, the idea that, look, you don't want another country coming in and taking your country's resources.
Right.
Right? I mean,
no, you don't.
And it's never worked out well for other countries when the U.S. has done that. Ask any other country we've done that in, never works out well. So Russia didn't want that happening to them. So forecasting was used that way. And the other mistake I see a lot of people make broadly is when people try to tie RussiaGate to Obama. Okay. So Obama has something to do with it because he was president, obviously, but he wasn't running that show. That's a Clinton operation, pure and simple. It's a Clinton operation. You can see, but by who's involved: Cody Scherer, Strobe Talbot. Okay. Clinton's oldest political friends. I mean, going back to '69 in Oxford, going back before he met Hillary. That's how far back it goes. Yeah. And by the way, he had two roommates. A member of mine, she'd ask ChatGPT about Clinton's roommates at Oxford. She said I'd ask a question, and Gemini wouldn't answer. So we can't answer that.
Isn't that crazy? How we're now getting into this like sort of like Sylvester Stallone, Demolition Man world where computers get to tell you what you can talk about.
So she did a search on ChatGPT, and ChatGPT was worse. They said Strobe Talbot was not Bill Clinton's roommate.
Whoa.
So I went and did a search for 2 seconds. I found an interview, Strobe Talbot, in his own words, saying he lived with Bill Clinton. It's not a secret.
He's pictured with him right here. I don't know who this other guy is, though.
The other guy is, I forget his name, but he's a friend of that group's who killed himself. He was a Vietnam War protester.
Whoa.
And so he committed suicide, but I forget his name. So the two guys who Clinton did live with, Strobe Talbot and David Satter, Satter. David Satter is not a household name, but he's a kind of well-known guy. Look up David Satter.
Satter?
Yep. He's a writer,
American journalist and historian.
Yep, and he wrote for I think National Review.
Looks like he's still alive. 76.
Yep, he is.
American journalist. Yep. Let's go to his website. He's a Chicago guy.
If you want to, yeah. So I'm going to point out that he was again one of Clinton's roommates, and do you know what he's an expert on?
What?
Litvinenko.
Is that the guy who got poisoned supposedly with polonium?
Yes, and I don't believe it.
No, I don't either.
This guy built a career out of saying Putin did that.
Oh, so he's a liar.
Right, on that specific topic. It's interesting that one of Clinton's roommates, Strobe Talbot, heads Brookings, and the other one is a major Russian liar. I mean,
right. They're just basically propagandists. Yeah.
Right. You know, couldn't one of them be managing a hardware store?
Nah.
You know what
So
I'm saying?
he's I mean that's the thing. He's one of the guys in the list of people who got poisoned from eating sushi in London, and then they say, "Oh, Putin did it," and then
And again, the person who said that specifically, the person who said it was Putin. Do you remember?
probably Christopher Steele.
Exactly right. Christopher
Yeah,
Sale. Bing, bing, bing. Number one answer. Great
right.
job. So it was Christopher Sale.
Yeah,
And if look, they're not even really trying. Right?
no.
You know what I'm saying? They're not trying to cover their tracks. It's blatant who's doing this stuff.
Hmm.
So
Lee, somebody's in the comments asking if you keep in touch with Chuck Johnson, but yeah, you, as I recall, there was some beef with Chuck Johnson, no?
yeah, I don't really talk about Chuck.
Yeah, that seems like somebody trying to agitate. Well, listen, Lee, we're going to take a break here and come back and complete this conversation in our sponsor exclusive segment. People are going to be able to join us for that in just about 15 minutes on patreon.com/Stranahan. People can also join on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com. Right? Anything you want to say before we switch over, Lee?
Nope, we're good.
All right. We'll be right back, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Stay